Now, we just mentioned that the peace talks have been called to South Africa, mediated by the African Union, although we don't know the venue yet. But the question is, what is at stake in South Africa, and what are these talks all about? And this is the moment when I turn to Paul Nantulya, who is a research specialist at the Africa Center for Strategic Studies. He is joining me via Skype from here in Washington. And Paul, I want to begin just right there. First, what is at stake in these talks as the warring parties now meet in South Africa?
Well, thank you, Vincent. It's great to be on the show once again. No, as you've mentioned, there's a lot at stake in this crisis. The first is Ethiopia is a major African power, very strategically located in the Horn of Africa, close to the Red Sea, plays a huge role in regional security efforts, including counterterrorism, including stabilization efforts in Somalia. And Ethiopia has also for many years been among the top 20 fastest growing economies, not just in Africa, but the world. Ethiopia is the seat of the African Union. Ethiopia hosts many UN agencies, including the UN Commission for Africa. Ethiopia hosts some of the security infrastructure of the African peace and security architecture. And hosts numerous diplomatic initiatives, for instance, IGAD and others. So there's a lot at stake. And for Ethiopia to be unstable is not good for the continent.
Now, many have been watching this conflict go on, and the question has been, why is it, or has it seemingly been very difficult to bring the two sides together, get into a state of peace and at least a truce that could hold?
Three reasons, Vincent. First is the severity of the conflict. This is an internal crisis and a power struggle within the TPLF, which was at the core of the ruling coalition. The ruling coalition, the coalition that ruled Ethiopia from the overthrow of Mengistu up to 2018, had a violent split within it, which also affected the military. So the severity of the conflict is a major reason as to why it has been very difficult to get all these sides to the table. I mean, Abiy himself grew up in the TPLF-led coalition. So that's the first reason. The second reason is that you've had multiple and in some cases competing and parallel peace initiatives coming from the external, from external partners. And when you have that, the protagonists in any conflict situation, they tend to play one mediator of the other. The third reason, Vincent, is that the parties do believe for the moment that they can achieve their objectives on the battlefield. And until you get to a situation where they believe that they can actually speak on the table in good faith, it will be very, very difficult to arrive at a truce.
Now, very quickly, the African Union is mediating this current talks. What is your assessment of the African Union's mechanism to resolve conflicts on the continent?
It's been a little mixed because right from the beginning, the Tigray elite and the leadership within the TPLF and the Tigray regional government have complained that the African Union was not impartial, given that the designated mediator, Olusegun Obasanjo, was seen to have legitimized the elections that took place, which were extremely controversial from the perspective of the opposition, not just Tigray, but the larger opposition in Ethiopia. And so immediately from day one, the African Union process was not viewed as neutral, and credible by a party to the crisis. So that is the first issue. The second issue is it is very, very difficult, and we've seen this even before in the Mengistu years. There is a tradition within the African Union that matters evolve in conflict in Ethiopia tend to be very, very sensitive, simply because it's the host of the AU. So it's very difficult.
It's definitely a conversation we'll continue, especially as the talks take place in South Africa. Thank you very much, Paul. That is Paul Nantulya, who is a research specialist at the Africa Center for Strategic Studies.